So you've got the video of you and your horse working together. Now you're going to review it. You are going to act like your own trainer and you're going to look at this video and assess what's what so that you know what to, work on going forward. But the problem is, what do you actually look for? Well, over the next 2 episodes, I want to break down for you exactly what to look for. We're going to start today by focusing on you, the rider. So let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is Lorna Leeson. I am an equestrian trainer and coach, and I work with riders from all over the world to help them to have more confidence in their own abilities, especially if they're working with their horse alone without a trainer or coach. Okay, and today I want to talk about how, if that is you, if you're in that situation where you don't have a regular instructor, a trainer, a coach coming to work with you and your horse, how you can use video to actually become that for yourself. Okay, now in the previous episode, I've spoken all about how to actually set the video up for the best results. Okay, so if you're going to dive into this, go back and listen to that first to make sure you've got the good video. But assuming that you've done that and you've got the good video, well, today we're going to plow on and we are going to talk about you, assessing you and your riding and what you're doing, your actions, your behaviors, okay, all the things you related, okay, in the saddle, and how you can begin to, identify the things that need to be tweaked, okay? And why am I starting with you? Well, because you have control over you, hey? So I think it makes sense to start with the thing that you can actually change the easiest yourself, okay? And then from there, just kind of noticing the ripple effect going out. Now, what I am going to do is the next episode, I'm going to be chatting about your horse, what to look for when it comes to your horse, and doing a video review of your horse. So wherever you're listening to this, you can get the previous lesson to figure out how to set the video up, get the next one to figure out what to look for in your horse. But let's get back to today and talking and thinking about you, okay? So I think that first and foremost, you are going to have to be able and to be very aware of doing this. And you may have to remind yourself quite a few times during this. So write it if you're doing this. And I do suggest using your riding journal. Okay. So just a notepad, doesn't have to be fancy, it can just be a blank notepad, but get yourself a riding journal. And I want you to write at the top where you can see it and be reminded on a pretty continuous basis that you are not doing this with any judgment, okay? You're just looking at it. You are just going to kind of pull things apart, have a little look at things, but there's no judgment involved. It is what it is, okay? If you're going to start shaming yourself and if you're going to start making yourself feel bad about this, it's not going to work, because at the end of the day, when you think about working with, let's say, an instructor or a trainer in the arena, they're not there to shame you, or at least they shouldn't be, okay? They shouldn't be there to make you feel bad about it. All they're there to do is to give you pointers, ideas, and methods of getting the outcome that you say you want, okay? So they're there to kind of tweak things a little, or at least to give you suggestions on how you can tweak things a little. You need to be that for you. You're not shaming yourself. You're not making yourself feel bad. You're not judging yourself in any shape, way, or form. This does not mean anything. All it means is that now you're stepping up. You're taking a little bit of responsibility about what you're doing in the saddle. Okay, so once we've got that sorted out, I think that the first place to start would be with your position and your posture. Now, I know so many riders, they're going to roll their eyes now and say please, Lorna, been riding 100 years. Don't need to hear this nonsense, but hold on there now. Stall the ball, okay? I think this is really, really important, because a lot of other things that are going on for you and your horse are probably actually stemming from this, okay? So I would start with looking at the lines, okay? So the head, shoulder, hip, heel, and also the elbow, wrist, thumb, rein, bit line, okay? Are they aligned all the way? Are the lines aligned, okay? But are the lines aligned all the way through the ride? Because if they're not, you've got an issue. And that's where you need to start. Now, the other things I'd be looking for where it comes to position and posture would be tipping, okay? Tipping forwards, tipping backwards, tipping sideways. This would be especially around your hips, your shoulders, your hands, yeah? Okay. and tipping mean that like one goes lower than the other. You're on a motorbike going around a corner. No. Okay. So we need to notice all those things. The next thing would be swinging, like especially the lower leg. Whew. Okay. If you're playing the hokey pokey with your lower leg, again, it's a no. We need to kind of try and figure that out, get a little bit more consistency and security going on there, okay? So that would be important. You could also look at your heel. Very often you get like this swinging heel, and usually what it is that you're standing on the stirrup iron, okay? You're actually standing like on the ball of your foot each time you're posting especially. So notice that. You could be crunching up, like so many riders. They go off, they start looking wonderful, elegant, poised in the saddle, and then especially when something different is about to happen, so a transition of any sort, okay, they kind of through their chest just crunch into a bit of a ball, okay? So where I would suggest looking there would be your chest and your upper body. Are you gathering up, particularly through your legs, okay? Your thighs and your knees, you're kind of like, lifting them up towards your body, okay? You're gathering them up. And then finally, are you gripping with your knees? Now, there's lots of other things that you can look for when it comes to your position and posture. These are the biggies, okay? So I would suggest having a look for all of those things throughout the video. And when you see it, mark it, like write it down, okay? Like watch it and say, oh, look, every time we do that, I tend to do this, okay? That knowledge can be really powerful because when you take it into the arena with you, that's where you become your own trainer, which is what we really and truly are aiming for with this. In the blog post to do with this lesson, I'm going to actually link to all the different past episodes. Well, not all of them, but quite a few different past episodes that will actually deal with each of these topics that I'm covering today. So if you want to go a little bit deeper into that, you can pop over to stridesforsuccess.com/episode 1346 and you can get all those links there. Okay, so the second thing that I'm going to suggest looking for, and I know we kind of sort of covered it, but I want to go into it in more detail, and that's your self-carriage, okay? Especially through transitions. Now, not just through transitions, but, pay particular attention through those transitions, okay? Because I know it does fall under the posture, but it's such a chronic issue for so many riders that I wanted to give it a space on its own, okay? So if you find that you're collapsing before, during, or after transitions, you've got an issue. This is something that you can definitely work on yourself. You don't need somebody with you. You can better yourself with this one. Absolutely 100%. Okay. Remember, if you're collapsing, if you're not in self-carriage before, during, or after the transition, that is going to affect everything. It's going to affect the whole performance for you and your horse before, during, and after the transition. And the after is of particular importance here because so many riders, they will maybe moan about the fact that the canter's not that great. And meanwhile, they've totally collapsed through the transition into canter, okay? So you have to be very much aware of what you're doing. What I would suggest doing is focus on maintaining your alignment. There's that word again, okay? As you prepare the transition, as you ride the transition, and then allow the horse into the next gate, okay? You're just really, really being and remaining in alignment with your body, okay? Your job, remember this vital piece of information, your job is to set it up. Your job is to ask the question, then get out of the way and let the horse do whatever it is you've asked him to do. If you're collapsing, if you're shuffling, if you're doing any of those things, you're not getting out of the way. You're making things much more difficult, okay? And again, I'll include a training on that in the blog post, okay? Okay, the third thing that you can begin to notice, and this is something that I think until it's pointed out, many riders, I don't know if they don't want to see it or maybe they genuinely don't know to look for it, but I have a feeling a lot of riders are like, we'll turn a blind eye to that one. And that's your weight distribution in the saddle. Now, I know it sounds a little odd, okay? But it is so, so important. What I'm going to suggest you do is start looking at where your seat, your bum, is just when you're riding on the straight, okay? Ideally, you want kind of equal amount of weight on both sides of the saddle. But then you're going to really, really begin to pay attention to what happens every time you meet a bend, a turn, or a corner. Because what you might notice is, and maybe this is the more obvious, and this is really a symptom of the more your seat happening, but what you might notice is that your shoulder might begin to dip a little, the inside one specifically, okay? Or you might notice that, gosh, look, there's an awful lot of my seat after moving to the outside of the saddle there as we rode around that corner, okay? So notice these things. You want to be able to maintain that fairly consistent weight distribution regardless of if you're going through or around a corner. Very, very important. Okay, the next thing to notice would be the consistency of your legs, your shoulders, and your hands. Now, I'm going to go more into the hands just now, but let's start with the legs and the shoulders. I've already mentioned the hokey pokey. You don't need to be doing the hokey pokey with your horse, okay? You're not sticking your leg in, out, and waving it all about, okay? No. Let's try and be nice and draped, so we don't want to be gripping, okay? We're not holding on for dear life with our legs, but we're also not waving them around, okay? But we do want our legs to be consistent. We also, I think, want to look at more consistency through the shoulders. And this is especially true when you are in the canter. I see a lot of people doing a lot of ducking and diving in the canter with their shoulders, and their seat is stock still. I want you to flip that. I want you to try and be a little bit more consistent through the shoulders. Now, does consistent mean being as stiff as a steak? No, it does not, okay? So, but you do want to be a little bit more consistent through the shoulders and have a little bit more movement through the seat, okay? We're going to chat more about that just now. But yeah, if you think about that, very often riders are moving the wrong parts, okay? You'll see the legs and the shoulders are just waving about and doing ducking and diving and doing all the moves, and the seat is like just absolutely stiff, okay? You want to try and change that around a little bit. The other thing that you can look to be consistent would be your hands. Now, all I mean about consistency through your hands is that you're like not directing air traffic, okay? You know, it doesn't look like you're conducting an orchestra, okay? You've got things nice and consistent. However, my next point is that you're actually moving with your horse, and specifically your seat and your hands. So what I mean by your hands is that, as I said, you're not like waving them all over the place. You're not like, you know, doing high fives with people, okay? That's not what we're doing, but we are then moving with the horse. We're following the horse, okay? So this is really important. And the same goes with your seat. You don't want your seat stiff. You want your seat moving with your horse. There has to be this suppleness through your body that allows that energy to continue to flow. It's really, really important. So, all in all, I do strongly recommend that you take some time over the coming week, get a video or two of yourself. And again, just go to the previous episode where I kind of lay out how to get the best video, okay? The one that's going to be most useful to you, okay? But go there, get the video, and then sit down, give yourself, 10, 15 minutes, have a look at yourself with no judgment, no shame, no feeling bad. It is what it is, okay? And then begin to notice the points where you can begin to make changes for yourself and your horse as you go forward. If you would like me to review one of your videos, you can find all the details over at stridesforsuccess.com/virtual. There's all the details there of how we can work together to do that as well. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a super day, keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.